hear from you being recording for a while.
Oh, really? Bryce, what jersey are you wearing?
This one, you know, the replica of the fire suit of the winner today.
Oh, so I'm supporting right here. Nobody. I mean, oh. No, I mean, hey, Kyle Larson won.
He did.
I mean, it was under some weird circumstances, which we'll get to. But that was right. But hey, how was your weekend?
It was good.
That's good. That's good. We went golfing. I won.
You cheated.
Oh, well, I got a 45, which sounds like it's kind of good for a 9-hole if it's like a bogey a hole, which isn't that great, but for somebody like that. But it's a par 3 course, so the par is actually 30, so that's 15 over par. But I never claimed to be good at golf, so it's all right. I still won.
Yes.
But anyway, let's see here. What do we got on the agenda today? You watched the Xfinity race?
Gentlemen, start your engines.
You say welcome to Shifting Gears.
Welcome to Shifting Gears. Welcome to Shifting Gears. This is Shifting Gears. We have 5 different gears we're going to talk about, and so let's go ahead and get into the first gear.
There you go.
The first gear is the Xfinity race.
Xfinity race. I think the Xfinity race was great, actually. It was a good race.
It was really good. So.
It's a very good race. Let's see. Riley Herbst won the race, which is good because that's only his second career win. And he did it tracking down the people, so it's not like he fluked into it or anything like that. He did good. And they said in the race that he got an offer from Haas, which will obviously be Haas next year in the Xfinity, to drive that car, but he's not accepted it yet. So we'll see. I don't know if that means that he's got something in the works or what. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes, but I think he's actually getting better now.
That's something I was thinking during the whole race yesterday, is because both the Storehouse, with Cole Custer and Herbst running up there, I was like, these two, I don't know how many cars he's going to have in Xfinity, but, both of them are basically racing for their job. So
yeah, exactly. Which they did announce, I don't know if you heard this, that Cole Custer is going back to the 41 car next year for Haas in the Cup.
In the Cup?
The Cup.
I didn't know that.
So he'll be in the 41 car next year in the Cup Series just for Haas, and they'll stay Ford, and they will and they'll have an alliance with RFK. So we'll see how that goes.
That's interesting.
But yeah, so he's going back to Cup next year. So which is good. But Riley Herbst's winning, but Cole Custer knows where his future goes, so that'd be good. So now Riley Herbst's in the playoffs and everything. We'll see how deep he gets. But it was a good race.
It was a good race from lap 1 wreck to it just being a really good last 2 laps, really chaotic. And how many lead changes was there in that last 2 laps?
So it went from Riley Herbst to Eric Almirola to Cole Custer, and then back to...
I thought Cole Custer was leading, and then it was Riley Herbst.
Yeah, and then Eric Almirola, and then Riley Herbst again. So yeah. I mean, it was pretty good. A 3 wide coming to the white flag. But then Anthony Alfredo, earlier in the race, he pulled off the weirdest block. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't think I saw that.
It's because it was actually a wreck. He hit the wall, and then he turned down in front of the oncoming traffic.
Oh, yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
So I didn't think anybody's going to hit him at first, and then he swerved way down. I'm like, oh, boy, and he got hit. But anyway, so shifting into second gear here, we're going to talk about Chase Elliott's penalty and Brad Keselowski.
I was about to say,
but it's also just because it's just inconsistent. Like, here's the thing. Looking at it, I 100% agree it was a penalty. Like, he went up over the line. But my only thing that I get frustrated with is that, like, as he is doing that and goes up above the line, you look right behind him is Kyle Larson, who was also over the line.
He was on the line.
Yeah, and well, his right sides were over the line. So I don't know if it's supposed to be the full car or whatever, but they didn't specify in general.
If it was the full car, then Keselowski wouldn't have gotten penalized because Keselowski only had half of his car over, maybe a little bit more.
And so my thing is, it had nothing to do with the line, though. According to the rule, it just goes on the racing surface. And my thing is, you have to have a line or something that makes no sense whatsoever. NASCAR keeps backing themselves into a wall to where they make a call, and you could get mad at them either way they call it because there's no specific way to call it. They just say, oh, well, that looks like it's this or that looks like that.
Yeah.
There's a white line already there. Just make it to where if it's over the white line, then you get called. So that's what I get frustrated with, is because they're just calling it just to call it, and then Kyle Larson doesn't get called, and Brad Keselowski does get called, and everybody's confused. Yeah. And it's just bad officiating.
They were saying, the announcers were saying it was just via email. You know, make an announcement during like the drivers' meeting. You know, actually talk about it to the drivers. You know, make that specific line and actually. Show them what you're talking about. So.
Yeah, it's just a dumb thing all the way around. It's just what it is. I can't stand it when I go to, which I've talked about this before in previous videos back last year, where I go to say, hey, people, you need to watch this race. You need to watch this race. You need to watch this race. It's a crown jewel event, and then something like that happens, and it's just embarrassing because NASCAR just doesn't stay consistent with their officiating, and then nobody's going to want to watch because they're so confused on what the rule is. That's half the reason I didn't watch football for the longest time, is because I didn't understand any of the rules, and it's just like, well, this is there, this is that. And even football, I feel, is officiated better than NASCAR sometimes, because at least there's zoom-in cameras on, there's a line here, and you have to go like that. But NASCAR just puts on judgment calls. Like, I can't stand it. They hurt themselves in that instance. They need to be a clear-cut black and white rule for those. But
leads us right into shifting into third gear, which is the race. The final laps of the race, they should have thrown a caution before the white flag.
So here's my thing with that. Kyle Larson would have won, I think, regardless. Even if there's another caution and another restart, I still think Kyle Larson had the fastest car. He was going to win. But my thing is, and I heard Elton Sawyer say after the race where he's like, well, we did everything they could. It looked like he was going to get going. Then when it was clear that he stopped, we'd already taken the white flag. No, they didn't. Go back and watch it. When he had stopped and you realize he's going to get stuck with flat tires, they hadn't even made it into turn 4 yet. And then they went all the way to the start-finish line, took the white flag, and then throw the caution until after turn 1, I think. Maybe even turn 2 at that point. I don't remember.
It was right after turn 1.
And so I'm like, you knew that they were going to do that. And you make all kinds of excuses, just going back again with the consistency thing. Going to make all kinds of excuses where, well, we want to make sure the race gets under green. With all the other, when they don't throw the cautions when they should. And, well, we want to make sure it's a finish under green. And you always make excuses for why you do this stuff. But you have to stay consistent. We wouldn't be so frustrated with it if you would just be consistent.
Well,
but
and the thing is, he spun out and I know he barely tapped the inside wall. But I think there needs to be some sort of rule, like if on an oval, if they spin out and hit the wall at least, they should throw a caution. Yeah. Because, even if he gets rolling, I mean, he still did hit the wall. Yeah. So
and see, that would just make it to where I said the last point, where it's a black and white call. Well, if you don't like it, well, he hit the wall. It's in the rule book. It's got to be a caution. And so I understand that. The only thing I could say against that is like at Daytona Talladega, I've talked before, where once they hit the tri-oval, no cautions until they cross the start-finish line. Because there's been several times where they'll throw a caution like right away, and then the race is frozen, and then the guy that's fourth ends up actually winning because of the way the draft works. But it doesn't matter because they called the caution way before that, and it just ruined a really good finish. Yeah. And half the time they're like, well, you have to throw the caution for people to slow down. Half the time the safety crews aren't even out at the track till after they cross the finish line anyway, because it's so late in that race. So that's the only exception I'd say to that, but I agree with that to an extent. But that goes into point number 4. Kyle Larson did win that race, and his saying after the race where he said, we'll see you back in May to the fans. So does that mean he's going to be racing in the Indy 500?
I completely think so. I heard the announcers talking afterwards saying basically since he's won, he basically can do it. He just needs somebody to actually get it done. Yeah. there's no doubts in my mind, and probably a lot of other fans' minds, that he's going to be in an IndyCar and he's going to do the double next year.
I think Kyle Larson's good enough right now in his prime driver to where I think he should do the double every year till he wins the Indy 500, because I think he can win
I think he can.
multiple Indy 500s, not just one. I think he's got the talent in him, so I think he should try it every year until he just gets tired of doing it. But right now, he races every week anyway, multiple times a week.
Yeah.
Or multiple times a week, yeah. So doing the double for him is really not an issue at all.
Yeah.
As far as like being exhausted and stuff like that, he can do it.
Yeah.
It's just getting the rides to do it.
Well,
So
and the thing, exactly what you just said, just getting the rides.
Mm-hmm.
But with, like you said, him racing different things every week, just racing an IndyCar, and he was running up in the top 10 and got that speeding penalty at the Indy 500. He easily could have gotten top 10, top 5
exactly
at the Indy 500, and it was his rookie, first
Yeah,
time
it's
he's
first
ever
time doing
raced
in
an
an IndyCar at all.
IndyCar. And so it's crazy because I don't think even Jimmy Johnson, who had raced in NASCAR, whenever he switched over to Indy, was anywhere close to any numbers like that. So it's insane.
Yeah, I don't think
to think that.
I think Jimmy Johnson only finished got 2 top 10s his whole IndyCar career, which you can make the argument that Jimmy Johnson was past his prime at that point, and going to where if he was in his prime, I think Jimmy Johnson probably would have done a little bit better.
Yeah.
But
does Jimmy Johnson have as much experience in other cars?
not in IndyCar. Now he did start out with like trophy truck kind of stadium racing cars and stuff like that, and some.
But I'm just saying, I think Kyle Larson, since he has the background in so many different cars,
he's definitely better than Jimmy Johnson when it comes to adapting.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah. But anyway, so that's that. That leads us into point number 5, or shift into the 5th gear here, is the race overall. And I'll say this: it's kind of a toss-up whether who had the best race. But anyway, Xfinity, I'd say I would give it to the nod to the best race of the weekend, only because the finish was better than the Cup finish, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Other than that, the racing itself, I think, was equal, if not right the same as the Cup race. So anyway, that will go from there then. But the Cup race, I'll give my percentage. I'd say for Indy 500, for Brickyard 400, which is normally a strategic race, usually not very much excitement, it really surprised me at being good. So taking the expectations and exceeding those, I'd probably give it a good 87%. What do you say?
Interesting. Because in my opinion, I think, because I didn't get to watch the full Xfinity race, but what I saw of it, I feel like the complete race today, the NASCAR race, the Cup Series race, was better than the Xfinity.
Oh, yeah?
In my opinion. I liked the finish of the Xfinity better than the Cup Series. But I feel like there was just a lot building on the Cup Series race.
Yeah, well, it's also the bigger race, too. It's the crown jewel.
Yeah. And so, but I really like the Cup Series race because, like you said, it was strategy. But I was watching it, and it got to 20 laps left, and Larson came from 23rd, and he's literally chasing down the next guy. And so I literally was sitting up in my seat, like I'm getting ready for this to finish, seeing if Larson was going to have enough time. So I really enjoyed it, watching Larson chase down the ones that were out of, And so I'm actually going to give it a 95.
Oh, there you go.
Because I really enjoyed watching today's race. So
it was good. It really exceeded my expectations because you never know what you're going to get at the Brickyard because it's a crown jewel race and it's there for a reason. It needs to be tough. But also, tougher tracks like that leads to more strategy, which sometimes can lead for more kind of a boringer race. Not that it's boring, but there's just not a lot more is happening. So I was expecting more of a strategy race with not a lot of excitement. But there was a lot of excitement, and it was good. Oh, man. But anyway, and so it was good. But yeah, so that's our percentages, and that's this week's review. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you leave a like, comment down below. Hey. We had some technical difficulties the last couple of weeks. We've actually filmed some videos. We just have not been able to edit them because of some technical difficulties. I think we figured that out. I'm going to be able to edit that. And since it's the off weekends, these next 2 weeks, I'm going to try to edit the video that we weren't able to get out a couple weeks ago after Chicago.
Videos.
videos in general, and then go from there and just put it out there, even though it's a couple weeks late. And then we're gonna do a video, I think, also maybe doing our playoff predictions, since we have an off weekend on 1 week. So be watching. We're still trying to figure some of this stuff out. It's still new. We're getting some new equipment and stuff like that, and trying to figure out the glitches and the things like that. So bear with us there, but it's going good and we're enjoying it. And I'll say this, Nathan, which we've talked about this in our other videos, but we haven't been able to get it out. He predicted Alex Bowman winning the Chicago race. Yep. If you remember, we did that short video, and he won. And then the very next week, which we weren't able to put it out, but he predicted Ryan Blaney would win Pocono, and guess what? He won Pocono. And this week he predicted Jimmy Johnson would win, and he actually was running the best he's ever done, coming back at part-time until he got wrecked. So I thought for a second maybe his car would win.
If Jimmy Johnson didn't wreck, I think he would have had a shot. It would have been.
I think it would have been top 10.
When did he wreck? Beginning of the third stage? Yeah, it was beginning of the third stage because I don't remember. I couldn't switch Joey Logano out.
Yeah.
So it was beginning of the third stage, and so he was running top 10. It would have depended on his strategy move from then, but I think he had a good shot.
It was the best he's run since he came back for just running part time, since he retired the first time. So I think he would have got a good chance at a top 10, which would have been funny. For a second though, I thought his car and John Hunter Nemechek that he owns would have a shot to win, and I was thinking, well, technically Nathan would still kind of be right because he did win just as an owner. But anyway, it fell. The streak ends at 2, so we'll have to keep getting Nathan's input. I kind of want to see what he picks. He just picks random numbers, and he was right. He was 2 for 2 for.
Well, the funny thing is, he picked 84 today, and he only races like 6 races of the year. So I don't know how he gets that right,
but it's funny to watch him. So he's a non-NASCAR fan, just kind of barely watches it when we force him. So, but it's fun.
The more we talk about it, the more he's interested.
I know. I'm going to take him to the race. I'm telling you, I'm going to take him to a race next year. Anyway, that's it for today. We'll see you back on the short video. I guess we won't have a short video this week. I was going to do predictions, but we don't have a race next weekend. So maybe next week we'll see you next week. But I'll see you later. So high five.